we're here with Mike Eley BSC and director Roger Michell to talk about their a recent project that they made called Blackbird, which came out this year. Is that right? Did it come out this year?
I think it did. Yeah, it came out. Hang on. Yeah, it came out last year. It came out last year.
Oh, that's right. Sorry, yes, in 20. Yes.
Yeah.
It festival, didn't it, at the end of 2019? But
it did lots of festivals at the end of 2019, and then eventually came out because of COVID. It came out just on platforms in the autumn of last year. Yeah.
Of 20. You just saying you've worked together 5 times, the pair of you now. The first time was The Lost Honour of Christopher Jeffries in 2014. What you mentioned the birthday, which Mike's just reminded me of, which was it's another kind of single location, almost a play for Sky Arts.
It was a play. Yeah, it was a play that I directed originally on the stage, which we then took into a build, and Mike and I were just discussing the kind of the radical differences between working on stages and working on location. But Mike, you didn't get to the end of your thought. I was intrigued to know what you were going to say.
Well, I was just saying that when I think of working with you, I think of us being sort of shooting sort of au naturel and sort of, just in natural lighting conditions and integrating ourselves into whatever location we find. And yet, if you look back on what we've done a substantial amount on sets, which I was surprised to realize actually when I was thinking back, because we were just talking about another project that I've just done on a set and about the inherent differences.
I think we've only gone to a set when we've had to. I mean, I always slightly dread sets, and then if you've been out on the road for a few weeks, you long for the set, don't you? You absolutely long for the dry and the warmth and the no, it doesn't matter if the light starts going. Then after about 2 days of that, you think, God, this is suffocating. I hate it, honestly.
Yeah.
You can't breathe, and you nothing ever happens that you're not expecting to happen. You never get a bird flying past, or do you know what I mean? Or the sun never comes out behind the cloud in a strange way on a set. But what's brilliant about you is that you can manufacture a sort of spontaneity on set. So it feels like we can continue our adventure into trying to be spontaneous with what we're looking at, even though everything is totally manufactured.
Yeah.
I felt that particularly with Birthday, actually. We shot Birthday, which is a very short 5 or 6 day shoot. It's really good fun. It was belt and braces. I had some very good actors who knew the lines, knew what they were doing. And Christina, who cut it, about halfway through the edit said, where did you shoot this? It's amazing. I mean, it's like a great location. And she'd been staring at all our dailies, and she hadn't realized that it wasn't a real place.
Yeah. No, it was a very good set. It was a hospital ward, but it was that worked really well. I mean, I think Blackbird is almost a sort of halfway house between a set and a real place, isn't it? I mean, it had a lot of the trickiness about a set of trying to make real the place and trying to introduce the outdoors element of it.
It kind of throws up that idea, which just sounds like the Birthdays might be closest to it, where which there's something of the theatricality of that, and that kind of bottle episode of actually it's a single story, but it's encapsulated in one thing, so it's kind of built for a set. Roger, how does that? Is there something of that crossover with theatre and film? And it sounds like actually you sort of don't with film. Actually, you really like the spontaneity of real life and being out in the real world, as opposed to the stagey element of that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very. Does it separate theatre and film? I mean, as you know, I work in theatre and film, but I like to play. I enjoy the difference between those two things more than the similarities in a way. So I never thought of, oddly, of Blackbird as being a theatrical thing, even though lots of people have described it as such. I wanted to make it as filmic as possible. I suppose it's theatrical in the sense that it's an ensemble of actors, and there is a kind of unity of time and place to it, which you often find in theatre. But if you end up making a film all in one house, you feel this challenge to play the changes. You want to find different ways of shooting the same room again and again and again, and finding different moods and different kind of sympathetic lighting ideas to suit different moods in the story. I remember. I mean, I obviously love working with Mike and work with him a lot, and because he's so busy all the time, I often get him, straight off another movie when he's knackered and he's depressed and he's tired and he's, I can feel that he's sort of wants a week off. He doesn't want to come and talk to me. And I remember him walking into that house in West Wittering. We went down on the train, I think. I remember walking into that house with all that glass, and Mike just sort of went white and sat down, and he didn't say anything for quite a long time. I said, after a while, well, what do you think of it? And he said, yeah, it's great. I could see he was thinking, fucking hell, we got 5 weeks in this basically room full of, the minute it goes dark, it's going to be a room full of mirrors. How am I ever going to find a balance between the outside and the inside? And it was a miracle to see how he handled that. So, in his usual incredibly calm and precise way, just sort of solving problems, ticking off problems, and we ended up loving that location, didn't we? But it was, it's obviously full of challenges. We were trying to shoot without lots of light. We were trying to shoot, with the light available to us. The hours went back after the first week, I seem to remember. We had to build that into our schedule. It was well scheduled, very well scheduled, so that we could pick away at the night stuff. We didn't have to do full nights. We'd work from 6 till midnight for the night stuff, and that was better for everybody. Everyone hates working all the way through the night. I find it very destructive and horrible.
Yeah, well, you created an ensemble who were incredibly on board, for that. Yeah,
we did a week's
that way
work before we went there, so that everyone was on the same page, which is good. Yeah, we did the final read-through actually in that location, didn't we? Do you remember? And all your department turned up, and that was great.
Yeah.
This Blackbird it feels like an incredibly personal story to tell. As a filmmaker, it's hugely affecting and deals with, I guess, universally understandable ideas about grief and loss and acceptance and reconciliation, and with life and death, and whilst it's hinged around assisted suicide, you said you didn't want it to be a judgment about that. Can you tell me how you came across the story, and what was the process of that? And
well, I never thought it was I never thought it was particularly a kind of euthanasia film, because euthanasia isn't debated in the film much. It's not. There's another film to be made, which is the family discussions that took place before the film started, where they were thrashing out the ethics of should she or shouldn't she do this, and if she was going to do this, should they be participants in it, or should they leave her to it, etc., etc. And I like that about the film, because there's not a lot of things about euthanasia that I want to proselytize about. I mean, obviously, in this case with these people and this family, it feels like an eminently sensible and rather wonderful thing to do that she's doing. But euthanasia itself is sort of absolutely thorny thicket of complexity and legality. And so what I liked about the film was that it was more like a sort of Agatha Christie story. You know, it was like this gang of 8 people locked in a house for one weekend. One of them was going to die. You know, unlike in Agatha Christie, at least we know he's going to die. But that intrigued me, and working in miniature like that intrigued me. So that the substance of the film is the interaction, the minute interaction between these 8 people under stress over a certain time, you know, and the time is ticking from the minute the film starts. And that, I thought that was great. I thought that was exciting.
Mm.
And it had been a film, hadn't it? It was a Danish film.
Yeah.
And you said
a very celebrated Danish film. Yeah, right. I might add. Yeah.
And you
said
that you didn't see.
No, I didn't see.
I was going to ask you if you had seen it since.
No, I haven't actually. No, I'll get around to it eventually. But I didn't want to be sort of contaminated because I heard it was a great film. Did you watch it?
I did not. No. I tend not to go. I mean, not to go back to the, you know, any original.
Yeah.
Source. Just because it tends to sort of what can pollute, or, you know, your view or influence. You know, it's just better to, you know, maybe later, but although I haven't seen it yet.
But, I haven't seen it either.
Yeah.
So why don't you say what you felt when you walked into that house? Am I exaggerating?
Your description of my reaction, it's all coming back to me now, like a bad dream. I do, yes. It was the sort of knowing that that it would be the control would be limited, and nighttime would come very quickly to us, because we started shooting. I think we started shooting as late as October.
It was a week before the clocks changed, whenever that is.
Yeah. So it was mid-October.
Yeah.
So most of the time we were shooting, we were in winter hours, and yeah, it was. So as you say, it would turn into a hall of mirrors very, very, very quickly. But knowing how you shoot, and knowing how Barry, who's first AD, is adept at scheduling, you know, it felt like the schedule was generous enough for us to be able to tiptoe our way through, you know, without too many horrendous sort of cul-de-sacs, if you like.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Yeah.
And so, but because I remember when we first when I met you for Christopher Jeffries, and
we worked together before that on Notting Hill, actually.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, well, that's when I very first met you. Was on the set of Notting Hill, but when I the first thing that we sort of shot together, so to speak, and I remember the first thing you said to me was, because you'd just done Low Weekend, and I'd been so inspired by that. You said, "Okay, I want to do Christopher Jeffries without a generator. Don't want any lights. We're just going to go guerrilla style and shoot." And I was like, "Okay." I think every film we've done together since then, there's been a sort of and there's been a variation of that kind of conversation at the beginning of our working together. And it's like, you know, let's keep this really minimal. And this was certainly the case for Blackbird. And we were talking about, you know, just being in this house, and which at the time we thought the windows would be a blessing for that. You know, we could just use the space, and it would be almost there isn't almost any inside or outside in a house like that, because you're so reliant on the sort of the natural light. But
I do apologise about that. I'm back,
okay,
and
Laurie.
I have got
Yeah.
questions. Let's do that. I'm sorry to leave you.
No, that's all right.
Leave you hanging, but you did sterling work. I was listening all the time. Roger, you've worked with a lot of fantastic DPs, and it turns out that it's like a roll call of the BSC, which is very exciting. And Mike being the latest of that. Harris Sambalucos, Alvin Kukla, Lowell Crawley, Mick Coulter, of course, Eben Bolter, and John Daly. Apart from availability, what are you looking for in a cinematographer?
Well, the most important thing is someone who you want to hang out with, isn't it? That's the most important thing. Whose sensibilities you don't have to share, but you have to have a kind of some kind of interlocking. There's got to be some sort of match between your sensibilities about how to make films. I mean, what is it about Mike that I particularly like? I suppose
he's not listening, so just you can say, go on.
I think he's got a fabulous eye as an operator, absolutely fabulous eye as an operator. That's very important to me, to working with the DP. I don't want to work with someone who work with somebody who wants to look through the lens and make frames. I think I really respect and enjoy his background in docos. I think that's really, you can smell that in the work we do together. Certainly in certain bits of it where it's absolutely Mike chasing the story with the camera on his shoulder. And, you know, we're both quite quiet on the set. Neither of us like shouting. We both like planning. We both like staying sort of reasonably calm about our work. And I think that's a good match. And we both like prep. You know, we both like talking about it, planning it. I mean, most of our work is done before we start shooting, in terms of, you know, roughly where we're going to put the camera to begin each day anyway. And we're usually, Mike, you talk about this, but I think we're reasonably successful in sticking to our plans. And
yeah, we are. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
we like finishing early and starting early and finishing early. You know,
that sounds amazing.
Shooting, I like to start shooting 20 minutes after call time. Any longer than that, I think something's going wrong, because my actors are always ready, and if you plan ahead, the camera department are ready. So let's shoot and keep shooting all day and not have a long lunch break, and then go home early. That's generally the way that I've always tried to work.
Yeah, well, I think it's a great. I think every film should be made that way. Quite frankly, you know, it's a great model. I mean, we don't. I don't think we don't do many storyboards as such. I mean, we might do a couple of stick men on, you know.
Yeah.
But there's nothing. It's sort of page turning on the script, and I mean, you don't pin it down completely, but we certainly know how the day's going to start, and then we sort of evolve.
We have a rough plan for every scene, don't we? We sit and do a page turn and try and work out something about every scene, whether it's a lens choice or a mood or a light choice or a camera move that might start the scene, or we usually have a.
You said you focus a lot on prep. How much prep time did you have for Blackbird?
I think we had quite a lot, actually. I mean, normally I get Mike, you know, a couple of days a week for a while, as opposed to full time. That usually works quite well. We go on locations together, and I can't remember the last time we felt completely stressed on the prep front. I mean, the Duke was heavy going on prep, because you were on the dig until pretty much. Yeah. That was quite tight, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was going from one to the other.
Yeah.
But I mean, there was a lot of locations on the Duke. We had a lot of ground to cover in Bradford and Leeds, and quite big locations. You know, so that in a way, that's probably, well, I mean, Rachel was pretty big, but I mean, that was one house. But there's a lot of ground to cover on the two. But I think we had about 2 or 3 weeks on Blackbird.
Yeah, enough. That felt enough.
Yeah.
I mean, we'd already picked the house when you came on, so it was like, that was the hardest bit, making that choice about the house.
Yeah, I didn't get a choice in that one.
So you were just lumbered with that.
Yeah.
So talk about the house. It's can you tell us where it was? Because I think that there was I was fairly convinced that it was. We could talk about that choice as well, but I was fairly convinced that it was in New Hampshire. That it was the Hamptons and it was American. It was firstly, what was the drive to set it in America, and then how come it ended up where it was? So where was it, and how did you find it?
Well, it was an American version of the story that I was presented with, and it was being made by an American studio, and they wanted, an American star to play the main role, and I had no problem with any of that, but they also wanted it to be shot in the UK, which I was delighted about, and we ended up shooting it in a place called West Wittering, which is just on the coast just south of Chichester. And the reason we ended up in that house is because Kate Winslet kept batting on about this house just around the corner from where she lived, which she thought would be perfect for the film. And I kept thinking, oh yeah, I'm sure it'll be absolutely perfect for you, because you'll be able to roll out of bed very late and come to work. And so I saw lots of other houses all over the UK and went to see it, really as a sort of formality, as a sort of out of politeness to Kate. And she was right. It was quite something, quite different from anything else I'd seen. And it became a much bigger character in the film than I'd expected it to be. And we did a rewrite around the house so that it felt like, the right house for the story. She became an architect. She designed the house herself, etc., etc., etc. And all that played for us. I mean, we had some challenges to make the house a little smaller than it really is. And we framed out various outbuildings and extra bits of architecture which seemed to make the family intolerably, privileged. But that wasn't too difficult to do, and that's how we ended up there.
I mean, it's such a specific the way that I think that you approached it in terms of even down just very simply in terms of composition. It's so strong. Did that I wanted to know if there was a real a dogma that you went into the film and the way that you were going to approach it with the camera. Did that come? It sounds like it came from the house. It's so structured, and with the sight lines and just the geometry and the architecture. Did that that sounds like that came from?
It certainly, yeah, that's absolutely right, Laurie. I mean, it certainly informed our dogma, and it's probably worth saying that we have a dogma on every film that we do. We do have a dogma. We do have a set of rules about, we're not going to use cranes on this. We're not going to use moves on this. We're going to use these kind of lenses, etc., etc. And Blackbird was no exception. We made quite sort of strong rules for ourselves early on, and that was inflected by the location, sure. But it was, we didn't want to move the camera until very late on in the film, and I was very keen to keep a sort of democracy to the piece, so that there are lots of shots with 8 people in it, and you can sort of choose who you look at. I think I wanted to make sure that it was a proper ensemble and that everybody had their fair shout, and that the film didn't simply focus on the people who were playing the bigger parts or the people who were perhaps more famous than the other people. And that's
where it felt like it dipped towards that theatricality because of the tableaus
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
it was almost played out in masters throughout, wasn't it? You know,
Yeah.
beautifully, where they would all fall into shape. So I've got some
Yeah,
stills from the film that
totally.
we
Yeah.
can look at. But I mean, it's just did you know that you were going to do that? Because it feels like then your coverage
Totally.
was then.
There was hardly any coverage. There's hardly any
which
coverage.
is just great, right?
And I remember writing an email to Michael, talking about with Mike and saying that if the studio don't start complaining after the first 2 days, then we're doing something wrong, because there won't be any coverage, you know. And in fact, the studio didn't complain. I don't think they even watched the rushes, to be honest. Had they watched them, they might have complained. But it's shot with hardly any coverage, and that's the delight of it for me. You see everybody all the time. I mean, not exclusively. When you need it, there's coverage, but we, you know, there's an old saying, isn't there? If you're in doubt about a close-up, then you need a close-up. And on this occasion, I think our philosophy was, if you're in doubt about a close-up, don't do a close-up. You probably don't need it. And also,
well, no, go on. Sorry.
Of course, I was desperately keen, because it's a very talky film without any car crashes or chases in it. I didn't want it to be talking heads, you know, desperately keen for it not to be talking heads. So I loved it when people were off, you know, with dialogue. They went off screen with dialogue. They went into another room, and we looked at Woody Allen, didn't we? Who's master of that. And what else did we look at, Mike? Do you remember what were the handful of films that we looked at? We always sort of.
I think did we look at some Bergman or something, just for the?
We looked at some Bergman, yeah.
Moving through rooms, and we looked and
we looked at interiors, didn't we?
Yeah.
Well, one of the things, obviously, that Mike, you've got a connection to, is it struck me in terms again about documentaries, was Grey Gardens, which again is kind of that character portrayal, but they would leave frame and come back, and it was just that sort of very solid held frame. That was that anything that kind of came to mind at all?
Yeah, I think I enjoy that in having the sort of setting the frame and letting the actors come and go, you know, not necessarily following them, which is, I guess, sort of contrary to the sort of documentary thing. But, you know, I mean, it certainly felt right for that house. I mean, I know it's a bit of a cliche to say, you know, that the house was the other character in the film, but this really was the case. I mean, you know, it was a reflection of Lily's life lived. And so that was a very important part of it. And now everyone was in it and moving through it. I think am I right in thinking, Roger, that all the actors were called every day, even though they weren't necessarily on the call sheet as playing the scene, though?
Yeah, I mean, that's the other odd thing about the film. Everyone lived very close to the location. They didn't have anything else to do, so we shot it. It's the only film I've shot in story order ever. Almost perfectly in story order, wasn't it? Apart from some jiggery pokery around the nights, and that gave us real sense of confidence, and it was great to see the story unfolding in front of us day by day. It was terrific.
Yeah.
I mean, it can be very difficult. It can be difficult doing stuff in order because of it, like you say, because of that continuity. But it makes so much sense for the people who are performing it, because it makes it all the more authentic, I suppose.
Yeah,
and beginning and the end.
You literally know where you're coming from and where you're going to. Whereas, of course, as you know, in most films, because of locations or availability of actors, everything's wildly out of sequence. And I think that was pleasing for everybody. I mean, everybody got very sort of bonded, didn't they? I mean, people do on films anyway, but this seemed to be sort of an exceptional, to me anyway, an exceptional sense of family developed in this very short period.
And then that experiential aspect of that, obviously, then is only going to bed in, isn't it? It's going to
Yeah.
be reflected in the relationships, and actually and which is what I felt is that people looked at home.
Yeah.
And that's important with the location, isn't it? Because people can almost sort of opening cupboards because they don't know where the glasses are.
Yeah.
It feels like they could well have lived there for a long time, and it feels very natural and very easy. I
think that's important to. I mean, I spent the last day of rehearsals in the dressed location, and invited the cast to wander around, and certainly invited Sam and to actually say that this isn't quite right, or this doesn't feel quite right, so that they felt that they owned their own house. It seemed to be sort of a sensible thing to do.
Mm.
Mike, how many I think you mentioned it earlier, but did you go to rehearsals?
We had that day of. We did some scenes beforehand, didn't we? When they came down to the house.
Yeah, you came to the rehearsal I did in the house, but I try not to get anyone into the rehearsals because the actors start getting self-conscious. If the DP walks into the rehearsal, everyone starts putting on their makeup and looking at the light in a strange way.
I guess it can start skewing a performative aspect to that.
So I think I always try and find a bit of time for the cast to be in a room without anybody apart from me. I mean, without assistants or without floor runners or anybody, so that they can do silly things and make mistakes and not feel self-conscious.
Yeah.
And do you find do you think you would benefit from seeing rehearsals, Mike, or is there something about the witnessing it sort of slightly fresher, or in that sort of documentary sense?
I mean, it can inform you. I mean, as much as sitting in on a read through, for instance. I mean, it can bring things to mind, but on the day there's a different dynamic to it, and it will invariably be different. It will change because of
also I don't stage rehearsals, so there's not much to see in the rehearsal room. It's just people mumbling and sort of scribbling, trying to change their lines.
Change the real estate.
I remember, Mike, you did come to the rehearsals for birthday, and that was really useful because I was able to stage scenes for you on the set. We had a rehearsal on the set.
That's right. Yeah.
And that was great. I mean, that was a real time steal, because you could see.
Yeah.
We could really start working out how to shoot it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we did that. Yeah, which was great to have the set to do that on, because often sets are still being built right up to the last.
Yeah, exactly.
Chance to get on them. So yeah, that was.
Yeah.
Now I know that my cousin Rachel was shot on Alexa with Speed Pancrose, but I can't find anywhere the information about what you shot Blackbird on. Can you tell me what that was, Mike?
I ended up shooting on Master Primes with the Alexa.
Right.
And
do we use the Alexa Mini for Blackbird?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the Mini LF, because there's some bits of it, the dinner party scene, where it feels like it.
No. I mean, we shot Blackbird in the autumn of 2018. So a few years, even though it's only just been released, we shot it a few years back, and I know I couldn't get my hands on an LF in 2019, so I wouldn't be able to. Certainly wouldn't have got one in 2018. A Mini, that is. So we shot the Alexa Mini, open gate 239 with the Master Primes. Yeah, I mean, I'd never used the Master Primes before. It was something I had the advantage of taking a kit down there to the house with a variety of lenses and just shot some tests. And
it's really inspiring for all of us sitting and watching those tests. Actually,
yeah, we screened them later on, didn't we? And it was just
at Goldcrest, yeah. Before we started shooting, and it suddenly seemed like, you know, because you didn't have any lights to the test at all, I don't think, did you?
No, not.
And it suddenly seemed like, yeah, this could work.
Yeah.
When you start putting frames on something, it starts to come to, starts to come to life.
Yeah.
Oh, we've done that. So yes, largely available light in lots and lots of glass and lots of white walls, Mike. And has already described your stunned silence when you found that out. I mean, how much control did you have? I mean, and how much lighting did you end up doing?
Well, we as I said, we were shooting October, November, and so the house was orientated in such a way that the sun crossed the sky on the blind side of the house, so to speak. So it was the ambient that was going up and down. We in the week before the shooting, the gaffer Matt Moffat sort of laid a load of cables around the house, and it was almost, I was tempted to say to Matt, you know, don't tell Roger we're doing this, because the instruction was, you know, no lights. But I said, Matt, look, if we just lay some cables, so if we need one, it's there. We can just plug it in, get it in go. And so it was always hidden because all the flower beds and the garden, we just rolled out these cables, and we didn't, apart from when we had to shoot upstairs in Lily's bedroom, I don't think we got a lamp out for the ground floor at all. But we did have some 12 by 12 and 12 by 12 bounces that we could quickly get onto the lawn, just to throw some extra light into the main living room area.
A lot of it was negative, wasn't it, Mike?
And there's a lot of negative, yeah. So it was T-bars with black on them, and just trying to get some contrast into the rooms. But it was and there were some windows in that living room, the main living area, which you never saw. They were blacked out from the beginning and never got revealed, and that helped us quite a bit to shape it.
I mean, in terms of sort of shooting across windows or shooting against windows, or rather than just shooting into key light. I mean, is that? I know, Roger, it sounds like you're keen to stage things where they feel natural, but obviously it seems like you're not completely insensitive to putting things where they might look the best as well. It's a fine balance.
Yeah, I mean, we learned a lot from those tests. I could see that shooting across down the windows was going to be lovely, and just shooting straight out was going to be problematic. So I suppose I did think about that. Yeah. I mean, we had a lot of moments where, particularly, and there's a very long scene at the end of the film where everyone sort of starts shouting at each other, sort of 8 pages. And we did have a lot of moments where the sun kept coming out. I mean, we ended up shooting that scene, in sun and in overcast, didn't we? We actually knew that we had to do both for every setup, because it was so different. and there was just nothing that we could do about it. But apart from that, I don't remember any. I don't remember the sun catching us out too much. Mike, do you remember?
No,
Yeah.
it didn't actually. I mean, it was an unseasonably kind.
It was warm and summer.
Amazing. So actually, but I mean that was the advantage of playing scenes out on a wide shot only with limited coverage, is that pursuit of continuity is sort of is
curtailed.
not so great as it would otherwise be. Yeah.
How big was your crew? I mean, you mentioned Matt Moffat, Mike, and I know that you've
Laurie,
you mentioned having shot just recently in under COVID conditions, and you could almost say that this was a perfect setup with the encapsulation. Was there an effort to try and keep it small? Did you shoot on just one camera? And how did that work?
It was mostly one camera, but we did have two cameras. We had and we had Luke Redgrave come in on the second camera for
5 days.
Was it 5 days?
Something like that.
Yeah. Well, certainly for the
dinner scene. Yeah.
And possibly for the denouement as well. But Luke was there
for the beach stuff.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We shot for 24 days in the end, didn't we? We finished a day early.
Right.
Crumbs.
We shot for
that's
24
fast,
days.
And that's exciting. A day early. How exciting.
Well, I was told that if I finished a day early, I could put the money into the music budget. That old chestnut, which of course never happened.
Yes.
But we finished a day early anyway.
So between you, in terms of sort of working with a single camera, or with from what you say, Roger, about that idea of capturing performance, perhaps, do you like two cameras, or do you like to stick to one, to concentrating on the one?
It's really hard, that one. I mean, I always, having two cameras is a real challenge for everybody. But my God, it doesn't half feel good when you've got 8 people around a table and it's midnight. You really, really appreciate the heavy lifting that the other camera's doing. But it's tough on everybody. It's tough on Mike because he can't, because he's operating one of the cameras, he can't really see what B camera's doing. And it's tough on the actors in a way, because they don't know whether they're on or off. Actually, I don't think they mind. I don't think they mind that at all. And it's quite tough on me because I'm trying to absorb 2 massive, great sort of burning sources of information at the same time, and then go and react to them, after an 8-minute take. I find that challenging, exciting. But it's so obviously compositionally, aesthetically, it's better to work with one camera because everyone knows what they're focusing on, and it's slightly less feeling of panic in the room. But I can see the point of 2 cameras.
Mike, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, if you get someone like Luke, on board, then you can. There's enormous amount of trust there because that wealth of experience he has, but yeah, it's I shooting it through one lens. There's that sort of knowledge that that's what you're getting, and you've got sort of control over it. But yeah, absolutely. I think it's great when the actors are sort of are not too worried about whether they're on or off, and they, in fact, it was quite nice when they didn't know when they were on or off. So I think that's how that dinner party scene evolved. That it became such a sort of naturally sort of ebb and flow of an occasion that I think the cameras just sort of receded. which is exactly as it should be.
But you're right, having an operator like well, any operator that you get on board, you have to have that trust and that degree of especially when you're co-operating, is that it's when you know that they're just getting the good stuff, or they're doing stuff that's complementary.
Yeah.
You know, you might be concentrating on dialogue, but actually they're getting reactions, and it's all, yes. But also I understand it's a bit of an overload in terms of performance if it's all coming at you, Roger. It must be. I don't envy you that. Just to before we'll look at some stills, because I've got I stole a load off of pictures from the film itself. Just about post. You worked with Adam Glassman at Goldcrest. How was that? I mean, it felt like a very light touch grade. I mean, was there a lot of work to be done in post?
Yeah, it was. It was a light touch. I mean, Adam is so brilliant. You know, he's you know, he taps into the mood of the piece so easily, and you know, we, as I said, we did some tests beforehand, and it was, yeah. I mean, there was no great sort of stylistic approach other than just keeping it as natural as possible. And you know, that was I guess that informed the choice of the lenses and the sort of style of shooting. It almost felt like we wanted to almost like just sort of like a sort of reality TV thing almost, which is, you know, just like capturing this moment of the weekend with this family, and keep, you know, not giving a huge look with a capital L. Just something very natural. And
I think Adam really for me really scored on those two long scenes, the one being the dinner scene and the other being the daylight sort of revelation scene, both of which, I mean, the dinner scene we shot over 3 nights, didn't we? And the revelation scene we shot over 2 very different meteorological days, and he managed to, and we cut it for performance. We didn't cut it for light, and Adam took it and threw it up in the air, and it all came back looking like it was happening at the same time. Yeah, this is wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the things that we put through the paces in the prep, all that shooting of the testing. Was I shot footage of throughout the day, and then gave it to Adam and said, okay, match that shot with that, you know, just to, you know, I knew he could do it, of course, but I just wanted to, you know, just as a reassuring exercise, just to say, okay, imagine that shot is the next in the scene, you know, match it up, and you know, it was all fine.
It's amazing. It's obviously it's become part of it. It has to be part of the toolkit, doesn't it? I mean, you have to be able to rely on that and know that you can manage all of that in post, and it helps you shoot quicker. It's like VFX. It helps you shoot quicker. It helps you make this. You know, not have to be too concerned about it. So
yeah,
it's crucial these days. So let's look at some pictures. Mike scoured his archives and sent me the few photos that he took.
The 2 or 3 that I had. Yeah, I mean, this
Tell us what's this, Mike?
This is just where we were scouting to where we were going to put where visual effects were going to put the house, and it roughly ended up where that huge tanker is on the horizon. It was just to get a.
We got it, put it on a ladder pod, didn't we?
Yeah, we just got as high as we could, which was in our case a ladder pod, full height, 18 feet, and that's where the car drove in on that track.
Right. Let's talk us through this one, Mike, because I'm intrigued about this one.
Yeah. Because I often I'm sort of old-fashioned type who sort of prints up my scripts and, you know, carry around in a black binder. I normally put a picture of something in the inside cover, so whenever I open it, it's there to remind me of something. And there's this, the thing about the house was this, you know, the real, you know, the reminder, the clean lines of this house and the sort of different surfaces which are almost aligned but are actually very different. And of course that's on the left hand side, that's the floor and that's the tabletop. And it was just something that I saw during the prep and just liked the look of it, and it became my sort of little visual memo to me, just to, you know.
I love that you sent that to me. That's brilliant. I love it. That's great.
And it was shot at 3 minutes past.
Exactly.
And then
we've got all the info.
Later, not an hour later, I took the next picture. Well, going back to that thing about, you know, all the actors being there, whether they were needed or not, and playing with the depth of the house and just looking down through the different layers, you know, the rooms that the house contained, and just seeing how that felt. So this was on one of our 2 or 3 trips down to the house. Before it was all cleaned out by the owners, and then the dressing came in later. Yeah, just all those lines. This is just a rehearsal that Susan and Sam did.
Day one, wasn't it?
It was day one, yeah. And so that off to the right is south. Sorry, I'm pointing as if you can see where I'm pointing, but anyway, so behind Sam, the window, that's south, and so the sun was kicking in low off the paving stones off there, which was a feature of almost every day, and it sort of kicked up there. So that light on Susan was just what was coming through the window, but there might have been some white on the floor, I can't remember. This is one of the very few rigs that we were allowed. So this is through those windows is the living room where a lot of the film takes place. And this was just I was always wanting to play with the reflections of, you know, if you're going to have a house like that, which is a bit of a gift for reflections. I mean, a nightmare to some degree, but we had such fantastic sunsets, and the light was so amazing, facing west that way at the end of the day. And but I didn't want it to sort of drop off completely. So off to the left of this picture is a garden that falls away, and then there's a hedge, and then there's the sea, and so it was just these kinos were just sort of put up into the rafters there, just to give a little glow, which, if seen from inside, just extended the garden a bit. And that's probably about as elaborate as it got as far as lighting around the house. Everything else was either a bounce or a negative.
Right.
But
and there's a glimpse up there of up there. Is that the
Yeah.
There's sky more. There's higher lights up in there.
Yeah. So most of those windows were all blacked out, and they're off to the right there. You can see the 12 by, which we just had a lot of the time just laying flat, and then if we needed them just to sort of tilt up, and they just threw in quite a lot of nice soft light. I mean, on a shot like that, you know, it's very hard to you know, get in any negative, but you know, you at times you have to embrace it, you know, and as I say, it becomes an extension of Lily's character. And off at the top left, you can just see the telltale signs of a stand. So there was probably something up there doing something.
One stand. You're allowed one stand. It's good to, and there it is.
Yeah.
So this is just some. I mean, this is obviously it's down to some things that I loved about it. I tried to find some good examples just in terms of composition or of lighting, and actually my favourite shot, which I took a whole sequence of photos of. But this is obviously an exterior of the house. There's something about the grade. It's talking about Adam working with Adam. Was there a notion of having a slight robustness to the exteriors? It might sound like I'm not making it up. A robustness to make it feel slightly more like an American movie instead of a British indie. Does that make any sense? Did that ever cross anyone's mind? Because it feels, I was convinced, maybe it was just the plug sockets and the number plates and the accents, but it felt American, you know. But part of that felt like it came from a little bit of the texture of color and contrast. Was there any idea of that, or was that just happenstance?
Not really. No, I didn't. Not consciously. I mean,
maybe it's just
I guess that time of year. Maybe there's
the light feels foreign because of the time of year. I think because it was so low so often. And obviously, the house
almost
is made of,
in a way.
Yeah, the house is made of steel and wood, which is not what we're used to.
Not traditional, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, that's what I got out of it. It had something it felt of its time and place. So I think that impressively good. Done. Whether it was on purpose or not. This is obviously a time of day thing. This is a beautiful early morning shot.
This was the second setup, I think. Not this one, the other one.
Yeah.
That one.
That's the second shot of the whole film, I seem to remember.
Yeah.
Maybe the third.
Well, we've seen him walking through the house a few times, and then this is him having come back from picking the berries.
Picking the tomatoes.
I mean, this is just the beginning of the house becoming clearly of it leading the composition of stuff. I mean, just here from the depth and the shapes and the uprights is just it's so beautiful, and obviously a credit to both of you. But Mike, I mean, look at that look through on the right hand side there, all the way out to there. It's just it's a gift. It's beautiful stuff.
Yeah, I mean the house just gave, I mean it caused problems undoubtedly, but it gave way more than it posed as a problem, and that aspect ratio also gave us scope to reach out to the left or the right, putting a character. I mean, it works very strongly with Sam in the middle, actually. But
what was there a conversation about aspect ratio?
I know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we knew it had to be an aspect ratio that would encompass the whole cast. So this is why we ended up. But it also fits the house terribly well. But it needed to be wide enough for everyone to inhabit the frame.
Absolutely. Long and low. It's beautiful. Just stunning shot, and then the choice is made. The not going for the pull, and it's just beautiful stuff. And actually, it doesn't. The film doesn't tell you any very little information about
as
the
little
illness.
as possible.
You get a sense. You only get a sense of her being frail. The fact that she's got oxygen and that she struggles to get up, and it's it's just wonderfully done.
The disease is never mentioned. I mean, there's a credit. I asked for a credit at the end of the film for the Motor Neuron Disease Society who helped us, but there's no actual identification of what she's suffering from, which again was a kind of choice.
Yeah,
didn't seem to be an issue. It wasn't the issue of the film. So this was an extra shot that we grabbed. This is still day one, and
we
we weren't going to do this shot, but Susan had talked to me about seeing her going down the stairs, and we suddenly, it's about 11 o'clock, and I thought, actually, we've got time to do this. And the light was so spectacular. It's like a Kubrick shot, really, isn't it? It's like something out of 2001 or something, with these weird shapes on the floor reflected in the glass on the right of the shot, and then the depth in the background of that beautiful chair, which the first AD ended up buying. I know. at a ridiculously low price, I might add. I suspected corruption insider dealing.
Undoubtedly.
Everything from that. I mean, it's everything about the house, isn't it? It's the steel and the glass, and the light and the stairs and the chrome of this and the leather of that. I mean, it's just a quick word about the production design. You work with JP Kelly, of course, wonderful JP, who I've worked with, who lives on the south coast as well. I mean, how was that? And was this an empty shell that you dressed in, or was there stuff there?
It became.
We took everything out of the house that belonged to the owners, and then put back things which they might have liked. Actually, they weren't necessarily radically dissimilar, but everything that went back in, JP had thought about very carefully and had sourced very carefully, and so everything you see is JP.
Fantastic. Again, this was maybe this is just my feed from Amazon, but it's something about the color and the contrast and the light of that, which doesn't feel, it doesn't look British at all. Like you say, it's either Scandinavian or it's or something American. Hopefully that comes across. But that's again. So here we are. This was notice the clock. There was a clock. That clock is it's quite striking throughout, and there's a few shots of that. Just these held frames and the fact that people come and go, and it's very just tiny amounts of coverage. It's again, just these very square graphic things where the people, where the characters then develop themselves into position. It's just striking stuff.
I mean, this room probably. I mean, these upstairs bedrooms, are not. You would never walk into a room and go, "Oh, we can do a scene here."
They're small, weren't they? Very small.
You're in the cupboard there, aren't you, Mike? I'm pretty sure you're in the cupboard.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've blacked out a window behind me, and there's windows on every side, so a bit of blacking out, and just allowing something to hit Kate from the left hand side, and then just the backlight from the window. I mean, but the white room is. I mean, you put one thing into it, and suddenly it becomes interesting. And there's not, there's.
But I guess what helps this is that notion of limited coverage. Because if you then realised that you had to go around the room and do opposing eye lines and turnarounds, it would make it a lot tougher.
Yeah.
So that's good. Again, this is another that sort of the sight lines through and the depth of people approaching.
Yeah, this is a really good angle for that.
So both these scenes we're looking at now have they're two shots. So this scene is this shot, this setup, and then there's the cutaway to Susan filling up the flower vase in the sink, and then the previous scene there's the wide shot, and then the scene this one there's the wide shot, and then there's a cutaway of Rain looking out of the window, and that's all you've got as in the cutting room. You think, fuck, that's it. Good luck with that. But you can make, it's really, I tell you what, it's really useful to have the one cutaway, the one extra shot to play with. It gives you a lot of choices, more than you might think.
I guess it gives you, because then it's about timing, but really, I suppose what that comes down to is strength of performance. So we can't not talk about your cast.
Yeah.
An incredible set of people that you got together, whose performances would hold in those shots, I'm guessing. So that's the beauty of that.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
that almost draws your coverage down.
Yeah.
Not that
but the trade-off is
coverage is just about bad acting. I don't mean that, but just
sure.
Yes.
But I guess the trade-off is that you do, working like this, you do 12 takes, 12, 14 takes on a setup like this. Whereas normally, if I was doing coverage, I do 3 takes. You see what I mean? Because you can't get all the elements right easily, and this is your only chance, and that you can't get yourself out of trouble later by cutting away to a close-up of Kate brushing her hair or whatever. So you have to be pretty sure you've got 2 or 3 really good versions of the scene which you could possibly not cut into at all. And that makes it,
of course, make of a one then. That idea of that you invest in that kind of single take, and it's often a move, and it's where you would do something in one take, and it was only ever going to be that uncut. It's about making that investment. So actually you would, like you say, you would do it 15, 18, 20 times of that one thing, because it has to be singular and it has to be based on performance, getting that right. I love that. I think that's fantastic. But having that one cutaway, the amount of oneers that I've done where it has to be cut for some reason, something has to go into it. So having one cutaway, like you say, is probably
just get out of jail free. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, great. Love that. This shot is almost a motif. This sort of, it pops back a few times. Again, with that depth of Sam kind of in the background.
Well, this was a big scene for us. This was day 2, I think, of our shoot, and it's a longish scene, and we held it in this reverse wide comes in right at the end of the scene, and it's a nice shock to go from one wide to another wide. And in the process, bizarrely, I was able to cut out about 2 minutes of faffing around with coffee cups just by cutting to this wide shot.
When everyone's got a coffee.
Yeah. If you look closely, there are a few rogue coffee cups, unaccounted, UFO coffee cups, which appear in this side of the scene, but you don't notice when you're watching it. But again, it's on the same basis that that reverse wide, normally you wouldn't necessarily bother to do, but it was really useful in the cutting room, and maintained the spirit of non-coverage, if you see what I mean.
Yes. Well, and it comes back. I think I've got another scene when Lily is watching Chris run around outside, and it comes back to this. Comes back to this setup.
Yeah.
So in that sense, did you almost put a tripod mark down and come back to it? Did you know you were going to come back to that setup, or did you do sort of keep do the setups with the scenes? Does that make any sense? Did you come back to the same positions often?
No, we didn't. We tried to avoid coming back to the same positions. This is interesting, Laurie. This one, we did 3 setups on this scene.
Well, that kind of ends in that one. That's it.
That's the same one.
Yeah. But that is once the doors closed. That's the gathering. That's the gathering, and then they all disperse.
We did 3 setups, and we only used the extra. This is the last setup we did as a kind of bonus shot, thinking, we will never use that. and this is the shot that in the cutting room it felt most fun to hold the whole scene in. With most people being, invisible for most of the time. If you go back to your previous frame, so instead of seeing past Sam through the doorway onto the people who are arriving, you just hear them, and the whole thing becomes 10 times more exciting because you don't know what else is going on.
But then everyone in this shot, everyone hugs, don't they? There's all the greetings.
Yeah,
and so
it is sort of accentuated the awkwardness of the meeting, because there's a lot of awkwardness in this scene. You know, people who don't quite know whether to hug or shake hands or do, and this would normally be, you know, where you wouldn't put the camera, but actually it worked.
Love that. Mike, you mentioned previously this was Anna's bedroom, and that was a little bit tricky. I think you end up in the cupboard in this one as well. This is the only shot I think.
I mean, this is probably my least favourite room in the house. Although it had a useful bathroom off to the side, but it's basically it's a long room. So this is turning around 180, and it's just that window out there, and of course, due to our dogma, we weren't going to put a lamp outside or anything outside that window, and so it became well, I guess without that bathroom to the left, there would have been absolutely nothing. So I found it for me, it was the most challenging room. Because I mean, the one that we saw Kate and Rain in earlier, the boxiness was a strong element of it, and that worked. This one, I don't know. I just always felt to trying to give it some character. And were
you putting something in behind?
And I remember I don't know if you can see, but the blind there. I just in my search to make it give some character, I just tweaked on the blinds so they weren't aligned. So there's a gap in there. And I remember JP coming and said, "What are you doing? What are you doing with the blind?" I said, "No, I just got to do something to mess it up a bit. I just got to." You know, so, but again, you know, you get two great actors in a space like that. Let them do their thing, and all three great actors in this case, and it works. It works, you know. And
this feels like that Grey Gardens, that idea, or that the Woody Allen idea of they sort of come and go, and it's all played out. The physicality of that is just fantastic. And then
I love the bit where Kate goes into the bathroom. Starts talking about this, and it's fun.
And we're back on the corner of the room there.
Yeah. And this just above Lindsay's head there, you'll see the sort of shuttered, movable blind. And that was just something that I asked JP to give us, so that I had something to bring into the background if I ever needed it. And it's all right. You know, on a shot like this, it stands rather sort of naked, but it was very useful just to break up the background.
I hadn't noticed, but does it turn up in every scene?
If you go back and watch the film now, you'll realise.
I'll keep an eye out.
It does move around a bit, yeah.
And this, of course, this shot, of course, cues up the cake, and then the rather beautiful coverage of the broken glass.
Yes,
this is the first camera move in the film.
I was going to
the jib up.
The jib up, yeah.
Now, this was the glass already there?
No, she dropped the glass.
She did drop the glass. Excellent.
She dropped the glass. We use real glasses, not sugar glass, and she dropped it every time.
Excellent.
And it made such a difference to the scene.
Sure. It's a real punctuation.
Yeah. And had to get her chair onto that's how directors think. I've got to get this chair off the carpet onto the hard bit of the floor, or the bloody glass isn't going to break. And that's how you start staging the scene. I know she's got to go there, so everyone else has got to go here, here, and here. This is really bananas, that.
Hang on, what's that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So this mezzanine, obviously, is for charades. That's a fantastic jump out of that. It's great. And then this it suddenly gets into this wild. It's lovely. This reverie of it's a lot of joy in this. It's great. Oh, one thing I did actually there's a few of these shots. I mean, obviously, I've disappeared again, but I'll be back. I'll keep talking. Obviously, you would avoid the reflections, but there feels like some purposeful avoidance of having where there should be reflections, and obviously the camera is missing. Was that on purpose because to try and achieve those shots, because it kind of gives a bit of an ethereal feel to the camera, to the witness, you know, I guess, because really
I mean, I seem to remember trying to keep it quite long, you know, the long lens, and so throw the background out, and if there's enough light and bodies in the room, you're not going to question another sort of silhouette against it, unless there's an obvious camera shape on the shoulder. But I think
there's some other shots when we get to the dinner party, obviously, because the Christmas dinner, it's super intimate and quite long, and there's lots of looking at the black mirrors.
Yeah, which I think that was probably longer lens than this one.
Another beautiful frame. And then, this is one of my favorite shots, is that one.
Oh yeah.
It's just the listening hand. I love that. Some beautiful skies. You were very lucky.
Yeah, well, it was, as I say, it's a little microclimate down there. I mean, it's,
yeah, for sure. This obviously was it's the end of that shot that develops where she comes close. What sort of did you use? It feels like you used just a lot of wides. Can you remember what lenses, what end of the set of primes, of master primes he used? Was it generally quite wide?
Yeah, I think it was sort of 25 or 27, whatever it is in the master prime range. But it was that kind of. I don't think actually we went that wide, but we had room to sort of get back and I mean the thing about the master primes that they're quite true. There's not a lot of sort of distortion on them, so that was very useful.
It's another this kind of tableau where everyone finds their place. It's sort of effortless. It's just beautiful stuff.
It's not effortless.
Of course it's not. It seems effortless, Roger. Of course, it's all highly designed. This is the first the scene, which is again super low coverage. It's just there's kind of two opposing wides, and then it's how did you like that, Mike? Or was that because it felt like at one point that there was a source coming from the left. I mean, is it again? It's just negative behind camera and
yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
this is a classic weather day. I mean, it was the last day of the first week, and the clouds and the rain came, and then the sun came, and then
that's right. Yeah,
it was a hell of a weather day, but it all seemed to cut together in the end.
Yeah, that's right.
And then it's just I think that's about the coverage.
That's it. That's all we had. Yeah.
Did you use what was this Steadicam?
It was.
This was yeah.
Fantastic. Beautiful landscape. I mean, it's kind of lunar, isn't it? And then again, another beautiful, effortless tableau of of characters.
This was tricky because this was two cameras,
right?
And doing an effortless tableau of 8 actors with 2 cameras is really hard because there's always going to be somebody blocking somebody on one of the cameras. I thought these wooden fence posts were brilliant. These were JP's brilliant cell that we were in Connecticut or Long Island somewhere. They worked absolutely brilliantly. I found this a challenging day. It was very windy. It was the first day of the second week, everyone had come back from a weekend, and it was sort of like starting again. I found this quite hard, but it seemed to come out all right.
Mm. I mean, it's painterly, obviously. It goes without saying, you know, it's the fact that that everyone is taking their places, and that everyone's almost got their kind of their own characters within that. I think is fascinating stuff. I love it. This relationship, and we're back in this room. There's a clock.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't feature a lot.
Again, this was that sort of idea of almost very close reflection, but it kind of gives that sense that really we should be seeing the camera. So it kind of gives it that slightly lightweight feel. Center, which is often center punched in a kind of wide singles. Beautiful stuff. I don't know if either of you seen Malcolm and Marie this year from part of the award season, where some of it was a lot of reminiscence of that, of the singular house and the kind of drama that plays out all within a house. Huge emotional stuff. It's got a sense of that from that kind of almost bottle episode idea that it's like there's a play of inside and out and being held by it, but I see lots of interesting ideas.
Yeah, I mean this was that was the best chance of doing that reflection thing, you know, the seeing inside and outside at the same time.
Sunset. So Christmas, we're into Christmas. So this dinner. So I'm kind of curious how you might have lit this one, Mike, because obviously you've got that the light overhead. But have you got stuff either side of that?
Yeah, there's some direct light on either, playing on either. I mean, small Fresnel lights playing either side of that, of the main light that you can see, the practical.
Because I was keeping an eye on the reflections in there of what I could see of fixtures.
And then
I have to say that this dissection is purely loving, because I'm just curious about how these things are done. It's not. I'm not trying to pick holes in what you did.
I mean, it was this obviously, because you want to get the glory of the reflection to extend the room, the background. But there was putting a teaser just above where the Christmas tree is, just to create a straight black there, which hopefully wouldn't draw the eye.
So dinner parties notoriously eyeline heavy, but dealt with beautifully. I mean, it's obviously. Did you shoot this? You said did you break this one up, or did you shoot this all in one go with two cameras?
There were several sections to this scene, but we shot it over 3 nights.
Right.
So I think there were 4 different bites to it. There was present giving, and then there was tasting the wine, and then there was the actual. I managed to engineer it so that the eating was really contained in one very short scene, because there's nothing so boring as shooting a scene where people have to have their plates replenished between every take. So it was like a lot happened before the main course and a lot happened after the main course. And it was something, wasn't it, Mike? It was like quite a marathon, but they were so exuberant, and they kept their aliveness and their spontaneity going so brilliantly. Throughout the 3 nights, it made it easier for us.
Yeah, and they were great. They enjoyed each other's company.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
So in between takes, it wasn't
deafening. It was deafening, wasn't
it? They just carried on, basically.
Yeah.
So
just where I might have got a sense of it feeling like it was large format, Mike, because of the the fall off is so interesting on that. And of course, it gets pretty hot.
And that's the other good thing about the master primes is they're very fast. You know, you can get. Yeah, there was a bit of extra lighting for this, just a lamp on the lawn. I was allowed that for the night.
Right. Again, this is another highly charged, but it's kind of, that's the shot in there, isn't it? So that's been painted in, right?
Yeah.
Just playing beautifully in the darkness there. It's just great. Oh, I've got you over the actiony bit. Ah, here we go. This is one, just it's a tiny thing, but it's one of my favorite. It's my favorite shot. It's just that simple slide from right to left. So I took a sequence of pictures.
Great.
I liked it so much.
Yeah.
Because of course I didn't want to pirate the
camera
film
at all until now. It has real weight. The sudden movement is like we're starting the final act of the movie, which is exactly what we're doing.
Yeah. And then
go on.
No, I was going to say that we had talked about that journey from the static camera to the handheld, and I guess this was the start of that.
Well, there was a real the dinner party. Was that how? I mean, although it felt quite lensy, it felt like sort of slightly longer lensy, but was that handheld in part at least, because it suddenly the energy just kind of burst into that.
That was all handheld, yeah.
And then. But yeah, and then it sort of
it calms down again.
It's sort of, and then at the very end, it's very free ranging. But there was that conscious view to sort of slightly let it go as the story progressed. The sort of rigidity of the frame.
This is the you mentioned, you called it something earlier, Roger. This one,
this is the sort of denouement Poirot scene, isn't it? It's where Poirot gets up and says, "No, I'll tell you what happened."
Yeah.
And it was, this was a 2-day marathon. This was a tough one, and quite a tough one to stage and to stop it feeling like Poirot, So there's a lot of variety in the angles and in the sizes, and there's probably more variety in the sizes than any other scene in the film.
Yeah.
And I think it really helps. It really helped me a lot in the cutting room, making this, putting this together, because there are lots of text changes in this in post. There's lots of kind of rewriting, if you like, in post, which I couldn't have done in the way in which we've been covering the rest of the film.
And then it obviously all starts coming to the decision.
This is one of my favourite shots. That previous one of Susan separate from everyone else is that like she's already sort of crossed the sticks and she's in a different. Come, it's okay. Come here.
Okay, I'm not here to annoy anybody. I'm here to have a straggle.
Okay.
We're watching TV.
We won't be a minute. All right.
Oh no, be as long as you want. I like this.
Thank you for your help.
Yeah.
There was something else actually I noticed it just about the that maybe that it, about the stridency of the compositions, that not only that comes from the architecture and from that's led by the house, but it feels like just about the decisiveness of that feels it might be sort of reflected in a narrative slightly. Maybe I'm making that up, but it feels like, you know, somebody has made a strong decision in the story, and that's kind of it. That's how it felt with the decisions about composition, and so if that spoke to me a little bit, whether that was conscious or not. It certainly did, just about the stridency of that, how definite those frames were, how positive, you know, and that's where maybe when the when
she certainly crossed over at the end, doesn't she? She's crossed over. She's absolutely made her mind, and she's kind of half dead now. And I think that's very strong, and I think it's so she's so beautiful in these shots, and the wider one as well. Everything seems to come together: the design, the lighting, her costume, the flowers, even the glass of juice. Everything seems to be sort of working towards something wonderful. And even Mike's magic screen in the background there.
Magic screen. I can't not see it. You shouldn't have said.
Sorry, I shouldn't have mentioned it.
It's in both ends of the room. Look, it's amazing.
Both ends of the room. And then it's a real. Obviously, this is the getting towards the very end. Literally, just there's a real tone shift in that, which I thought was interesting. And then into this, which is such. This is obviously the bit that really broke me. I mean, the intimacy of this is just astonishing. Can you talk us through about how, where did this come? Obviously, you talked about shooting it largely in order. I mean, did this, how this must have
pretty much the last day or two. Yeah. Everyone was up for it. I mean, everybody, as you know, Laurie, actors love laughing on sets like this. You know, they don't all start crying between takes. They piss themselves laughing, and the spirits are very high because the material is so gloomy. And this was no exception. The atmosphere was great. And Mike, in his inimitable way, just put his camera on the shoulder and just started playing with the emotions in the scene, really. And there are little moves in and little sensitive pans, and just such invention in the way it's shot that it adds another whole dimension to what is already quite a affecting scene.
Whereabouts was this? Was this in Lily's bedroom?
Yeah.
So they had the window to the one side. Is that
and this was the one upstairs space where I could get a lamp in through the window off to the left there, and we were making quite careful decisions about its time of day as far as storytelling, and wanted to give a sense of sort of magic hour-ish sort of light coming through there. So that was useful. I think there was I think it's just like a sort of 4K up there on a high stand, and and having a knocking the lens down with NDs to be as wide open as possible to get a shallow depth of field, and it was just moving around. I mean, I was almost on the bed with them. Well, I was at some time on the bed with them, and just easing around the four bodies.
I mean, it's so intimate, and you can tell that's it. The feel of that is just incredibly intimate, and it feels like, you know, it often gets said, but it feels like the witness to the event. You know, it's taken us into that, which is astonishing.
In some ways, it's the aspiration of all cinema, is to be the eavesdropping witness in the room, and this nails it. I wanted her to drink this thick. We prepared this thick liquid, which was more viscous but she didn't like the taste, so we had to revert the water, unfortunately.
Right.
Oliver Driscoll was the focus puller on this, who did a great job in this scene, finding. It was almost him leading the way. Actually, I just followed a lot of the time.
Oh, Oliver wants to look there now. It's going.
Yeah.
Move out. Come to the end of that. Just those last moments. That frame of Sam doing what he has to do of going for a walk. Oh, hello. Beautiful stuff. I hope that was useful. Sorry, that was it was my indulging me slightly on stuff that that I enjoyed. This relationship is clearly very successful, and I can't wait for the Duke. I think but Blackbird especially, and having seen it so recently, and I think everyone should if they can. It's on Prime, Amazon Prime. If you haven't seen it, we've probably just entirely ruined it. But it's an incredibly affecting piece. It's with an amazing cast and a beautiful eye on it, and it's just a fantastic piece of work. So thank you for sharing it with us.
Thank you, Laurie, very much.
Thank you, Laurie.
Yeah.
And I look forward to the Duke, and we'll have to do it all again.
A pleasure. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Roger.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Take care.
Talk soon.
Cheers.
Bye.